Marcus Hill drove slowly through the quiet street as evening lights began to glow. He had just finished a long shift at the warehouse and his body felt tired but calm. His old car made a soft sound as it moved forward and Marcus kept both hands steady on the wheel. Years earlier he had learned to stay alert even in peaceful moments. That habit never left him. He stopped at a red light and looked ahead. The street was empty and still. Suddenly blue lights flashed behind him and filled his mirror. Marcus felt a tight pull in his chest, but his face stayed calm. He took a deep breath and turned on his signal. He pulled over carefully and shut off the engine. 2 police cars stopped behind him. Doors opened and footsteps came closer. Marcus rolled his window down slowly. He kept his hands where they could be seen. One officer stepped forward and spoke loudly. He told Marcus to step out of the car. Marcus nodded and followed the order. He moved slowly and showed no fear. His actions were careful and respectful. The second officer walked around the car and shined a light inside. He said Marcus matched a description. Marcus looked confused but stayed calm. He asked what was wrong and tried to understand. The officer did not answer him clearly. Cold metal closed around Marcus' wrists. The sound was sharp and final. Marcus froze for a moment in shock. He had not expected this. He had done nothing wrong. He spoke in a steady voice and said there must be a mistake. His words were polite and clear. The officer did not listen. Marcus was guided toward the patrol car. People watched from nearby houses. Curtains moved and phones lifted. Marcus kept his head up. He did not struggle. He did not shout. As the car drove away, Marcus stared out the window. His reflection stared back at him. He remembered other rides in vehicles long ago. Those rides had been different. Those rides had meaning and purpose. This one felt empty and wrong. At the police station, Marcus was taken inside. The lights were bright and cold. The air smelled like old paper and metal. His belongings were taken and placed on a counter. A desk officer asked for his name. Marcus answered clearly and calmly. Marcus Hill. The officer paused for a brief moment. His eyes lifted and then dropped again. He typed the name into the system and said nothing more. Marcus noticed the silence but did not react. Marcus was guided down a hallway and placed into a small holding room. The door closed behind him with a heavy sound. The room was plain and quiet. A bench sat against the wall. A camera blinked above him. Marcus sat down slowly. He rested his hands on his knees. His wrists felt tight and sore. He focused on his breathing. He had learned to control his thoughts under pressure. He thought about his past but did not dwell on it. He had served quietly and without attention. He had followed orders and protected others. He had believed that service was enough. After leaving that life behind, he wanted nothing more than peace. He wanted simple days and quiet nights. He wanted to blend into the world and not stand out. Time passed slowly in the holding room. Marcus counted the sounds around him. Footsteps echoed in the hallway. Voices came and went. No one spoke to him directly. He wondered how such a simple stop had turned into this. He replayed every moment in his mind. He found no mistake in his actions. Marcus leaned back and closed his eyes for a moment. He reminded himself to stay calm. Panic would not help him. Outside, the holding room officers moved about their duties. Some laughed. Some complained. Life in the station went on as usual. One officer glanced at a computer screen and frowned. He checked the name again. He leaned closer and his expression changed. He picked up the phone and made a quiet call. Minutes later, another officer joined him. They spoke in low voices. Their eyes shifted toward the hallway where Marcus sat. Inside the holding room, Marcus felt a strange tension in the air. It was subtle but real. Something had changed. He opened his eyes and sat up straighter. The door remained closed but the noise outside increased. Phones rang more often. Footsteps moved faster. Voices sounded sharper. Marcus trusted his instincts. Those instincts had kept him alive before. They told him this was not over. He straightened his back and lifted his head. Whatever came next, he would face it with the same calm he had shown all his life. The wrong man had been taken in. The system had made a mistake. And somewhere beyond the station walls that mistake was already being noticed. Marcus Hill sat quietly in the holding room as the noise outside slowly grew louder. He could sense movement and tension beyond the walls. His instincts told him that something important was happening. He stayed calm and steady. In the main office area, officers moved faster than before. Phones rang without pause. One officer looked at a screen and wiped his forehead. Another officer leaned over and asked a question in a low voice. The mood had changed. Officer Dale stood near the desk and stared at the computer. The name Marcus Hill was still on the screen. A small warning symbol blinked beside it. Dale leaned closer and read carefully. His eyes widened as he realized what he was seeing. He called over the desk officer and pointed at the screen. They exchanged quiet words. The desk officer frowned and checked the system again. His fingers moved quickly over the keys. The warning did not disappear. The desk officer picked up the phone and stepped aside. His voice was serious now. He spoke in short sentences. He nodded as he listened. When he hung up, his face had lost all color. Across the station, the captain noticed the change. He walked over and asked what was wrong. The desk officer turned the screen toward him. The captain read silently. His jaw tightened. At that moment, the front doors of the station opened forcefully. Heavy footsteps echoed across the floor. Several men and women walked in together with calm authority. They wore dark jackets and moved with purpose. The station fell quiet. One woman stepped forward. Her voice was clear and firm. She asked who was in charge. The captain stepped toward her and introduced himself. She showed her badge and spoke without raising her voice. She said they were there for Marcus Hill. The captain hesitated and said Marcus was in custody. He tried to explain the situation. The woman shook her head slightly. She said there had been a serious mistake. She explained that Marcus Hill was under federal protection. She explained that his name was flagged for immediate alert. She explained that his detention had triggered alarms across multiple systems. The captain felt the weight of her words. He glanced toward the hallway. His station had crossed a line without knowing it. The woman turned to her team and gave a short command. 2 agents walked toward the holding area. Down the hallway, Marcus heard the sound of boots approaching. The steps were steady and confident. They were not rushed. They were not uncertain. The door opened and 2 unfamiliar faces appeared. They were calm and professional. One of them spoke Marcus' name clearly. Marcus stood slowly. His eyes searched their faces. He felt no fear. The agent said they were there to take him out of custody. She said he was safe now. She said they were sorry for what had happened. The cuffs were removed gently. Marcus flexed his wrists and took a slow breath. The marks were already visible, but he did not complain. He followed the agents down the hallway. Officers watched in silence as he passed. Some looked confused. Some looked uneasy. Officer Dale felt his chest tighten as Marcus walked by. He noticed the calm way Marcus moved. He noticed the steady look in his eyes. Dale realized this man was not ordinary. In the main area, the woman agent spoke firmly to the captain. She explained that Marcus had assisted in a sensitive federal case. She explained that his safety was critical. She explained that this mistake could have had serious consequences. The captain listened without interruption. He nodded slowly. He accepted responsibility. Marcus was guided outside. The night air felt cooler now. Several unmarked vehicles waited with engines running. Doors opened as he approached. Marcus paused for a moment and looked back at the station. The building looked the same as before. But to him everything had changed. He entered the vehicle and the door closed behind him. The car pulled away smoothly. Inside the car an agent spoke quietly. She thanked Marcus for his patience. She said they would explain everything soon. Marcus nodded and looked out the window. Streetlights passed by in a steady rhythm. His reflection moved with them. He thought about how easily things could have gone wrong. He thought about how close danger always was, even in quiet moments. Back at the station the atmosphere remained tense. Officers whispered among themselves. Training manuals were pulled from shelves. Phone calls were made to higher offices. The captain stood alone in his office and stared at the wall. He replayed the events in his mind. He wondered how many times they had judged too quickly. Officer Dale sat at his desk and stared at his hands. He remembered the way Marcus had spoken. He remembered the respect in his voice. Dale felt a heavy sense of regret. He understood that authority carried responsibility. He understood that mistakes had consequences. As the vehicle carrying Marcus moved through the city, the agent beside him finally spoke again. She told him that his work had protected many people. She told him that his role was not forgotten. Marcus listened quietly. He did not seek praise. He did not ask questions. He simply accepted the truth. The city lights faded as they headed toward a secure location. Marcus felt a familiar calm settle over him. The storm had begun, and its impact would be felt far beyond one station. The vehicle carrying Marcus Hill moved through quiet streets toward a secure building on the edge of the city. The ride was smooth and silent. Marcus sat upright with his hands resting calmly on his legs. He watched the lights pass by and stayed focused. The agent beside him spoke softly and explained that they needed to keep him protected. She said the mistake at the station had triggered immediate action. She said many people were now aware of what happened. Marcus listened without interruption. His face showed no anger. His calm came from years of experience. He understood that control mattered most in moments like this. The vehicle stopped at a guarded entrance. A gate opened slowly and then closed behind them. The building ahead looked plain and quiet. Inside the building Marcus was guided into a clean room with soft lighting. A table and 2 chairs sat in the center. The door closed gently behind him. Another agent entered the room and greeted Marcus respectfully. He thanked Marcus for his patience and courage. Marcus nodded and said nothing. The agent explained that Marcus' past actions had helped stop serious threats. He explained that Marcus' identity had been protected for safety. He explained that the traffic stop had broken that protection. Marcus lowered his eyes for a moment. He had hoped that chapter of his life was finished. He had wanted to stay unseen. The agent apologized again. He promised that steps would be taken to prevent this from happening again. Marcus accepted the apology with a nod. He said mistakes happened. He said learning from them mattered most. Meanwhile, back at the station, the night felt heavy. Officers moved quietly and avoided eye contact. The earlier confidence had faded. The captain called a meeting and spoke honestly. He admitted that the situation had been mishandled. He ordered immediate review of procedures. Officer Dale sat in the room and listened closely. Every word felt personal. He replayed the arrest in his mind again and again. He remembered Marcus' calm voice. He remembered the respect Marcus showed even while being restrained. Dale felt the weight of that memory settle deep inside him. After the meeting, Dale stayed behind. He stared at the empty chairs and thought about trust. He realized trust was fragile and easily broken. Back at the secure building, Marcus was offered food and water. He accepted the water and thanked them. He remained quiet and thoughtful. An agent informed him that his cover would need to be adjusted. His safety required changes. His routine would not be the same for a while. Marcus felt a quiet sadness but did not complain. He had accepted long ago that service carried lasting consequences. Later that night, Marcus was moved to a temporary residence. The place was simple and clean. A window overlooked a quiet road. Marcus stood by the window and looked out. The world outside moved on, unaware of what had happened. He thought about how close he had come to being forgotten in a system meant to protect. He thought about how easily people judged without knowing the full story. Back at the station, the captain received a formal notice. Training reforms were ordered. Oversight increased. Reports were filed. The station was no longer just a workplace. It had become a lesson. Officer Dale volunteered to assist with the new training. He wanted to understand where things went wrong. He wanted to do better. Days passed and news of the incident spread quietly through official channels. The public heard little. Internally, the impact was strong. Marcus remained under protection, but his spirit stayed steady. He kept a routine of reading and light exercise. He focused on calm thoughts. One evening an agent visited him and shared an update. She said accountability measures were being enforced. She said his case had already changed policies. Marcus listened and felt a quiet sense of purpose return. His silence had still carried weight. He realized that even when unseen, his actions continued to matter. As night fell, Marcus sat alone and reflected. He did not seek recognition. He did not seek apology. He sought understanding. The system had faltered, but growth had begun. And far from the holding room where it all started, Marcus stood stronger than before, knowing that truth had a way of rising no matter how deeply buried. Morning light entered the small room where Marcus Hill stayed. The light was soft and calm. Marcus stood near the window and breathed slowly. He felt steady. The events of the past days had changed many things. But inside him the same calm strength remained. He had faced worse moments before. An agent arrived later that morning with news. She spoke clearly and respectfully. She said the case had reached its final stage. She said Marcus' protection would soon ease. Marcus listened carefully. He nodded and thanked her. He did not ask for praise. He did not ask for reward. Back at the police station, the atmosphere had shifted. New faces appeared in training rooms. Old habits were questioned. Procedures were reviewed line by line. The captain addressed the officers again. His voice was firm but honest. He spoke about responsibility and awareness. He spoke about learning before judging. Officer Dale sat in the front row. He listened deeply. He had not forgotten Marcus' face. He had not forgotten his calm voice. After the session, Dale stayed behind. He looked at the empty room and felt a change within himself. He understood that authority must walk with respect. Days later, Marcus was escorted back into the city. Not as a detainee. Not as a suspect. But as a free man. The car stopped near his quiet neighborhood. Marcus stepped out and looked around. Everything looked familiar. Yet everything felt different. Neighbors passed by unaware of what had happened. Life continued as usual. Marcus found comfort in that. At home, Marcus sat down and allowed himself to rest. He had carried weight for many years. Now some of it felt lighter. A message arrived later that day from the agent. She informed him that policy changes had already been enforced. She said his experience had shaped new safeguards. Marcus read the message slowly. He felt no pride. He felt peace. Elsewhere, Officer Dale received new duties. He was assigned to community outreach and training support. He accepted without hesitation. He visited neighborhoods and listened more than he spoke. He learned stories he had never heard before. The station slowly rebuilt trust. It did not happen overnight. But steps were taken. Marcus returned to simple routines. Morning walks. Quiet evenings. Simple meals. He no longer wished to disappear. He understood now that his presence mattered even in silence. One afternoon Marcus passed the station while walking. He paused briefly and looked at the building. He felt no anger. Inside the station, Officer Dale saw Marcus through the window. Their eyes met for a moment. Dale nodded respectfully. Marcus nodded back. No words were needed. Time passed and the story faded from reports and files. But its lesson remained alive. Marcus continued forward with dignity. He knew that strength did not always need noise. The wrong man had been taken. The system had faltered. But truth had stepped in. And respect had been restored not by force but by understanding. Marcus Hill walked onward knowing that his calm had spoken louder than any protest. And the city moved forward just a little wiser than before.